Hey everybody, so today I'm going to share with you some interesting information that Archangel Michael shared with me about ascension. I'm Saratoga Ocean and I help people to navigate their spiritual awakening so they can stay on a conscious path of ascension. And if you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe so that you can catch all of my videos to support you on your awakening journey. So I had another very interesting conversation with Archangel Michael, and I want to share with you guys some of the things that he told me and what I was able to understand from that about our ascension process. And this is new information that I'm sure you guys have not heard before. So he told me there are actually two types of ascension in this universe. One is linear and the other is timeless. Now, the linear version of ascension is much more tumultuous, and that's the one that may possibly involve a solar flash. However, timeless ascension can sometimes be a lot more difficult to enact, although, in my opinion, from what he told me, it sounds a lot more pleasant. So linear ascension in a much bigger time frame takes a very long time, and it is indeed often tumultuous with a lot of upheaval involved. And this is the form of ascension that most all of us are focused on right now. And I do want to add that when he says linear ascension, he's not necessarily limiting that to our perception of timelines. It's bigger than that, but it still involves the existence of timelines. Now, interestingly, you guys, he told me that he really prefers a timeless version of ascension over the linear one, which would involve a possible solar flash. So I'm going to share with you guys what he told me about the idea of timeless ascension and how we could actually begin to engage in that process. Now, what I'm going to share with you guys is going to sound overly simplistic, but that's because our language, our conceptual language, is overly simplistic by nature. So if you want to distill everything down to its core essence, we are in a cosmic battle. And there are essentially two things going on. There are the reptiles, these are the extraterrestrials who want to control us. And then on the other side, there are the angelic higher beings who want to help and free us. Now, I'm going to use the term angels, but when I use that term, I'm referring to the very high level beings, including even some extraterrestrial beings, all of them who serve an overall, let's just call it angelic function, because again, we don't have enough words and concepts in our English or English language or any other language on this planet to adequately describe the magnitude of everything that is going on. So the thing you need to understand about angelic and higher extraterrestrial beings is that they do not battle. They are not combative. Instead, they are strategic in terms of how they utilize the laws and principles of creation in this universe. However, you guys, they are limited without our conscious participation. And that's why we're here as light workers and starseeds. Now, if you guys listen to one of my channeled audios from Archangel Michael and from, I think it was John and Telstar, I can't really recall, on one of my previous videos, you might remember that they said to us, do not fight with each other. And here, because they said we would lose if we did that. But here's why they said that. The people on this planet who are trying to control us, who are doing all of the damage and the violence and initiating fear, etc., are actually operating kind of like proxies for those higher level reptilian beings. And this is why fighting with people is not the answer. It's not going to get us anywhere, you guys. So the angelic forces need for us to be in a position in terms of our consciousness and our capabilities as cosmic beings. They need for us to be in a position to co-create a solution with them. And here's the fascinating part, you guys. Right now, for the most part on this planet Earth, we human beings are actually co-creating reality with the reptiles. So, Archangel Michael was sharing with me that we really need to divorce ourselves from the reality that is currently being co-created, the one that is so problematic and painful and violent and fear-based, etc., etc. Now, I want to caution you, he's not suggesting that we should just pretend that none of that exists and go into denial. He's not suggesting that at all, because clearly that reality is manifesting. I think what he was trying to say is it's important that we don't identify ourselves as though this is the only reality there is and we don't have any control over the situation at all. You know, we need to take a step back. I think that's really what he meant. Take a step back and don't be so identified with it. Understand where it's coming from and how it is being co-created. Because the reality that we are co-creating now is one where we don't have any power. There's a handful of entities who are telling us what to do. They are basically telling us that they control everything and we control nothing. But these are actually beliefs that they want to instill in everyone. Now, as I share this stuff with you guys, you need to be looking at all of this from a metaphysical level. And the other thing he told me, he said, at some point, you just have to realize that they really just want you to suffer. I mean, it makes them feel more powerful. So what he was saying is that it's time for us to take full command of our reality. It's time for us to be the cosmic creators that we are in the universe. Because he said right now, they're using all of us to create a whole lot of misery. And this is so interesting because he said, here's the main way they do it. Every day, 24 hours a day, the media gives us our instructions for what it is we're supposed to be co-creating. They don't say that, but that's the effect because of the way it goes into our minds. So they really want us to be creating from fear and misery all of our lives. So the role of starseeds and lightworkers is to take command of their own creations. Now, here's what I figured out about this. If you think about the law of attraction, okay, and the simplicity of how that works, what empowers your creation using the law of attraction is your emotional state. Emotion is the fuel that produces your level of vibration, whether that's high or low. And in other words, it's combined, you have your emotional energy combined with what's in your mind, and that's what brings the manifestation into existence. So if they are doing this so brilliantly in a really, diabolical sort of way, right? The media and the powers that be, or the controllers. So what they do is they get us in an emotional state of fear and anger. So they get that emotion really generated in a very strong, consistent way. And then they introduce thoughts into our minds that are all really negative outcomes. I mean, look at the news. It's always bad. It's always terrible. It's always horrible, right? So when you put those two things together and you're putting that into mass consciousness 24/7, then what happens is all of us as a humanity are co-creating with the source of all that stuff. So we all together produce the reality that we're all experiencing. So in a way, to me, this kind of sounds like a really sinister use of the law of attraction. So he was basically saying that as starseeds and lightworkers, our role is to demonstrate what we're capable of as creators when we cease to allow ourselves to be used, meaning being used to co-create pain, misery, and suffering. So I hope I'm being really clear that I'm not talking about physical battle or fighting or any of that. I'm talking about a higher use of our power, which is, he didn't actually use the term law of attraction, but that's just the way that it struck me. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Now here's the really cool part that he shared with me, you guys. He said it's our cosmic duty to create miracles and wonderfulness in our lives. He said that's the only way to defeat the reptiles. He said that's how you prove to them that you are no longer slaves and they are not in charge. This makes so much sense to me when I really think about this. He said you prove it to them by creating joy, love, prosperity, and an overall state of wonderfulness in your lives. And you stop absorbing the media's daily programming. Because what they're really doing, guys, is they're telling us what they want us to create. Now, again, I want to remind you guys that when I say media, I'm not just referring to like mainstream news. The media also includes social media. It includes the entire network of society, all of which is now online. So we're getting exposed to this from everywhere. So you have to take that into consideration when he says to stop absorbing the programming of the media, because what happens is the media puts out the thought of what they want us to be co-creating with them, and then all the people on social media dutifully amplify that message and continue to reflect it back and forth to each other, and that's how we get in so much trouble. So essentially he was saying we need to be creating from love and light, not from fear and anger. So the key in everything is to create from a vision of joy. And this is just so interesting to me. He said, so no matter what they throw at you, you continue to create from joy. He said this is actually the current mission for starseeds and lightworkers. And if we can do this, you guys, he said what's going to happen is other people are going to start to witness this, and then we can teach it to them as well. He said this whole thing is ultimately a game of manifestation and who has the upper hand. It's all about who is in charge. So he said the time to be a creator is now. And that's the only way we have to take back our power and stop being used in the way that we're being used. So this is where the angelic forces of light come into play in terms of our ascension and our awakening journey. When you start raising your vibration and you intend to create from light and love, and you understand the situation we're in and the simplicity of it, as I was just trying to explain to you guys, then when you raise your vibration, you're able to come in better, closer contact with those angelic forces. And then we shift our consciousness over to co-creating with those higher forces of light and love, instead of unconsciously and by millennia of human habit, constantly co-creating with the reptiles through whatever proxy forces they have on this earth. Now, he did share with me that this is not the easiest path. Of course, I think it's a lot more pleasant than the other one. He said linear ascension, which involves a solar flash and all of that, my sense of it, he didn't explain this precisely, at least not yet, but my sense of it is that that's more the path you take when a whole lot of people just stay unconscious and they're not really paying attention and they're not really understanding what our actual situation really is. That's when those cosmic forces are just going to create that ascension split, and it's just gonna happen no matter what, because ultimately, there are higher forces in the larger universe that intend to evolve all of this no matter what we decide to do. It's just that that's going to take a really, really long time, because maybe we have an ascension process right now on this planet that's happening now. And if there's a solar flash, if you guys don't know what a solar flash is, I don't know if I want to take the time to try to explain it in this video. I may have to do another video, but it has to do with the sun. It has to do with the sun putting out a massive amount of energy, because the sun is very much involved in Earth's evolution, in which case a whole lot of weird stuff's going to happen. That's going to ignite the physical ascension that you've heard so much about. I may have to do another video about that, guys, because I don't want to get sidetracked. I want to stay focused on this topic for today. So we have that massive burst of ascension, that very powerful thing that we're in the midst of right now, but that's just one level. And then we go through a whole other cycle. Everybody goes through another cycle, and then it happens again, and they go through another cycle. All the time, the goal is to bring this entire universe back into a state of oneness and back into a state of integrity with how the universe was actually designed originally. So timeless ascension, as Mikhail was describing it, is just a much more direct path to that beautiful reality that we all want to reach. But he did say it's more difficult because it's much more challenging in terms of our consciousness. So if you want to understand this in a really simple way, you can look at it like this. We need to shift from co-creating, he actually said this, co-creating with the dragons. He actually said that at one point. Co-creating with the dragons to co-creating joy with the angels. And that's just a simple, if you want a simple map of what it is we're trying to do, that's how you can look at it with great clarity. So where we can start with this is to start with this on a daily basis. So every morning when you get up, you want to ask yourself, how can I create joy in my life today? So what this means is we're facing our situation with our eyes wide open. We're sending a message through manifestation. We're literally taking back our power as creators, and we're saying, nope, we get to decide what we're going to create. We're going to co-create with the higher beings of light and love. We're going to create joy and beauty and wonderfulness in our individual lives. And then we can inspire others to perhaps do the same in their lives. So I hope that's clear for you guys. If you still have questions, I'm sure there's going to be more to be said about this, but this is really meant to be just sort of a simple starting point, a simple point of clarity and understanding. I'm sure there's a lot more that can be said, but you guys, for right now, you can just contemplate this and see if you want to give it a try. I mean, think about that. What a great cosmic duty, as he said. Oh, and there's one other thing he said I forgot to tell you. He actually said to me, this is, as human beings, he said, this is our duty, not only to ourselves, but also to the whole animal kingdom and the whole plant kingdom as well. We human beings are really very, very powerful when we decide to co-create with those forces of light and love in this universe and stop creating with the forces of pain, suffering, death, and misery. So I think that's all for today. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with your friends. And be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because as you know, I'm here every Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday with new videos to support you on your awakening journey. And with that, I'm sending you tons of love, light, and powerful cosmic energy of joy and happiness and miracles. Have a beautiful day, everyone. I'll see you in the next video. Namaste.